I don't think that even in 2012 or today also we consider ourselves as fund managers, right? We think ourselves as uh, people who want to meet smart people, right? And so as I told earlier also, like we are ourselves dreamers, right? And we want to dream along with some of the smartest people of the country, right? So that's how we think ourselves. So 2012 में ऐसा कुछ thought नहीं आता. It was not like we are going to become a big fund manager or so, right? So the job was that what we thought was that we will probably do the same thing which we were doing. Of course, we had a lot of complaints with the way we were doing things at our earlier organizations. Like we wanted more independence. We wanted to do less structured deals. We a little bit more empathetic to the founders, be fast in decision making, and so on and so forth. Right. But I guess today my associates might actually have the same issue with us also. But those were some of the things which we wanted to change, right? And I think we did that to a large extent.
This is Siddharth Alwalia. Welcome to the 100x Entrepreneur Podcast. This episode is brought to you by Prime Venture Partners, an early stage VC fund led by Amit Somani, Shripati Acharya, and Sanjay Swami. Prime is often the first institutional investor in category creating tech startups in fintech, SaaS, healthcare, and education, such as MyGate, Quizzes, MFine. To know more about Prime, visit primevp.in.
Hi, this is Siddharth Alwalia. Welcome to the 100x Entrepreneur Podcast. Today I have with me Madhukar Sinha, founder and managing partner, India Quotient. India Quotient is one of the leading venture capital firms in early stages in India. Madhukar, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Siddharth.
Madhukar, would love to know your journey before India Quotient, where you grew up, your family background, right, your education.
Yeah, great. So I come from a small town called Jamshedpur in Jharkhand, earlier Bihar. And I did my schooling, etc., from Jamshedpur. Uh, Jamshedpur is a nice little steel city, famous for the Tatas. So almost all the industries, etc., are heavily dependent on Tata, and we have a very good ecosystem going over there. So good roads, good power, all facilities, etc. Very nice facilities. So I grew up there, and Jamshedpur is quite a engineering hub. So everyone over there who uh, everyone wants to become an engineer and wants to go to an IIT. I also wanted to go to an IIT. So prepared for IIT. Unfortunately, I was not able to get into IIT. In mid 90s, the number of seats in IITs were very few, right? Only 2,000 seats. So I missed out by Aavishkaar. Uh, and then I went to study in Delhi, doing a graduation in physics honors. And by serendipity, I somehow ended up in a agriculture engineering college in Ludhiana. This was through a central entrance examination which was being conducted for agriculture university, and I just happened to give that exam and got a seat in Ludhiana Engineering College along with a scholarship. So joined over there. My family background: my father was an engineer in Tata Motors. Earlier, it was called Telco. Uh, Two sisters, me. We were like most other families. We lived in Tata systems, Tata school. I studied in a private school, but most people used to study in Tata schools. We had Tata schools also. Tata gave us, Tata has residential complexes, so we were given apartments and Tata hospital system, Tata. Everything is Tata. Even whatever you need, everything is there for there. So after doing my engineering in Ludhiana in 2002, I decided to go for a job, and in I would say it was just serendipity that I ended up getting a job in an NGO. So it was a non-profit. Uh, It was called Pradhan. The full form is Professional Assistance for Development Action. So, Pradhan used to do is that it used to work with the poorer sections of the society, especially in rural India, and try to help them create livelihood opportunities for them. So I joined their team in Madhya Pradesh uh, in a block called Shironj, which is approximately 110 kilometers from Bhopal. Spent 4 years over there. We were largely implementing a poverty initiative, poverty elevation initiative, which was funded by World Bank and the state government of Madhya Pradesh. So did a lot of stuff over there which was related to agriculture, construction. So built a few dams, built a lot of tube wells and dug wells. Did a lot of land development work and so on and so forth. Worked there for 4 years. It was a great experience. Like all the while, I used to move on a bike with a pack of bag and probably a pack of cigarette and a bottle of liquor, right? So that was what we used to do. Like, so I tell sometimes to my colleagues that I started on the absolute left, right? So like I was a social worker, right? And then I now a venture capitalist, which is the other extreme, right? So it was fun. So first 4 years, actually, it gave me a lot of perspective about what works, what doesn't work, about government systems, about entrepreneurship, about how people make their life work, right? So it was a very very enriching experience, and gave me a good understanding of what India is, not only in the cities like Bombay, Delhi, and towns like Jamshedpur, but also in rural pockets like Sironj and Vidisha and other places. So I think that experience has largely helped me in my career in trying to understand what are the next trends and how technology will go on to affect those people, right? So that has been a good learning for me. So worked there for 4 years in 2005, and it was kind of I wanted to do something more interesting. I wanted to also do something more urban, so I was kind of getting bored in the rural setup. So came to Delhi, was looking for some jobs uh, in the non-profit sector only, but more towards advocacy and fundraising side. Didn't get any jobs, so most of the people wanted. I got jobs. I was offered a lot of jobs, right? So in fact, every NGO or a not for profit I went, everyone offered me a job, but all of them wanted me to go and work in a project site, which was some rural parts. Somebody wanted to send me to Gujarat rural, or somebody to Odisha rural. Somebody wanted to send me back to Jharkhand rural, and so on and so forth. So I said I will have to do something so that I am able to come out of this stereotype which is there, which has stuck on me. So like everyone else, I gave a entrance examination again. So I gave CAT this time. Uh, it was, again, I didn't have much time to prepare, etc., but I ended up getting selected. So I joined IIM Lucknow for their agribusiness program. So studied there for a couple of for 2 years, and then I had got a pre-placement offer from Reliance in their retail division. uh, was about to join when I was I was told. It was just by chance that I was talking to a earlier colleague who used to work with me in Pradhan, and he was telling that microfinance was becoming a big rage in India around 2007-8. And he said, "You are from IIM, you understand the rural landscape. You would be a great asset to the microfinance ecosystem. So why don't you think something around those lines? You should probably join a microfinance institution, or maybe look at a fund which invests in microfinance institutions, so on and so forth." So so I somehow stumbled on the microfinance side, and I approached the partner at Aavishkaar, Vineet Rai, and after a couple of conversations, I joined their investment team in 2008, and joined them, and their fund was very small. I think they were 15-20 million uh, dollars AUM. Worked with them for 4 years. uh, did did a did a little bit of microfinance. Actually, I ended up spending more time on the non microfinance part of their business. So invested in healthcare delivery, has in I invested in education. I invested in rural BPO. So this kind of stuff, largely these were largely innovative stuff, but largely catering to the poorer states, poorer people, and the kind of returns which we are seeking were not always financial returns, but largely were more focused on the socio-economic impact and so other stuff. Right. So we raised this large fund in 2011 at Aavishkaar, and now Aavishkaar was like a mainstream fund, and we were now started to write larger checks. Right. So I was kind of getting slightly restless because while what I was doing over there was interesting, enjoyable, I was seeing that the world was moving very fast on the technology side, and especially my interest in companies like Facebook, Twitter, uh, and Google in the Silicon Valley. I was reading and I was getting very interested. And then around 2011, I believe in 2011 I had got my first Android phone, which one of my portfolio founders bought it from me from US, bought it from me for US. It was a Google phone, and I took a 3G package and I could see the video playing very far. It was very good experience, right? Way back in 2011, and that said, okay, now this is something which is very interesting. And if on the phone video can play this fast, a lot of stuff can happen on phones, right? So that was a kind of a moment for me where when I decided now I have to come out of this social rural kind of land ecosystem and move into the technology and internet ecosystem, right? So started looking for ways to get into the main tech ecosystem, and in that process I called up Anand, my partner now. So Anand is I knew Anand. So Anand was part of Seed Fund, and Praveen Gandhi was a partner at Seed Fund. He was on the investment committee of Aavishkaar. So he used to uh, once in a while used to compare notes with Seed Fund, and we had some common investments as well. So I knew Anand, but we had not worked together. We were not friends and nothing like that. So I called up Anand and I was asking for him if he had any opportunities or he knew anybody in the fund system who wanted to hire a investment manager or a principal level opening. And that's where he said that he was himself thinking of leaving seed fund and starting a fund, and would be happy if we can explore it together. So we met once. This is again very unreal. We met. I think we met for a couple of hours on a Sunday, and I think the next day the website of India Quotient was up. So we said, okay, we'll do a small fund. We'll do a internet strategy. So we'll invest in companies which will leverage internet. We will try to invest. Our strategy will be deciding the deals. So we will not do a syndicate kind of strategy. So we will invest, and if the company raise more money, that's okay. But our investment will not be subject to somebody else's investment, right? So that was one thing which we wanted to be very clear about when we set up India Quotient. So I think 2012 February we decided this, and the website went up. We both served our notice periods, of course, 6 months each. June July we were ready. We got our license, I think, in August 2012, and we started investing. There was a couple of investments while we were doing this. Anand was doing from his own pocket, which we warehoused and then we transferred to the fund. But the fund was set up by the end of 2012, and we started investing. So that's how we got started, right? So I think this is the journey which started from Jamshedpur. I come from a small city, and now we are full-fledged tech investors, as you can say, with me having zero experience of tech, by the way. I don't code, I don't understand code also, right? So of course I am an engineer, so I understand the logic of technology, but nothing hands-on. Similarly, my partner Anand, he is also not very hands-on on technology as such. No, of course, our third partner Gagan, he comes from IT Bombay. He's more recent, and he is more a little bit more hands-on than us. But we are mostly non technology guys who want to dabble our hands in the most tech companies in the country.
So you were 38, right? I think when you started India Quotient, Anand would have been 40, 41.
No, yeah, I would have been 35. I would have been 35. I was 35. Yeah.
Yeah. And you are clear that the next half of your life you want to be a fund manager.
See, for us, fund managers is a very uh, fund manager. We still don't think ourselves as fund manager, right? So we are, I don't think we are fund managers today. Also, I think fund manager thing only works when you are like managing hundreds of millions of dollars. You have that kind of pedigree where uh, your job is largely doing money management, right? So we are not money management, right? Our job is not money management. Our job is still to look at the new trends, look at, try to meet the smartest of the smartest guys, and somehow convince them to take our money, right, and be in the ecosystems that people talk good things about us, and therefore good people come and speak to us and make us part of their journey, right? So, so see that I don't think that even in 2012 or today also we consider ourselves as fund managers, right? We think ourselves as uh, people who want to meet smart people, right? And so as I told earlier, also like we are ourselves dreamers, right? And we want to dream along with some of the smartest people of the country, right? So that's how we think ourselves. So 2012 में ऐसा कुछ thought नहीं आता. It was not like we are going to become a big fund manager or so, right? So job was that what we thought was that we will probably do the same thing which we were doing. Of course, we had a lot of complaints with the way we were doing things at our earlier organizations. Like we wanted more independence. We wanted to do less structured deals. We a little bit more empathetic to the founders, be fast in decision making, and so on and so forth. Right. But I guess today my associates might actually have the same issue with us also. But those were some of the things which we wanted to change, right? And I think we did that to a large extent, right? So, for example, when we started investing in 2012 13, we had a rule that we would give a term sheet, and along with the term sheet, we would give a check of 10 lakhs or 20 lakhs to get started, right? So, we will not say that, okay, now we are given term sheet, and now after 2 months we will keep on doing diligence and paperwork, and then we will give you money, right? So we used to give 10 lakh 20 lakh rupees immediately. That stopped when the Ministry of Corporate Affairs basically made it very strict, right? So they said that you have to uh, issue the shares to the subscriber before you could use the capital, right? So that basically stopped that whole practice of giving money very fast, right? Similarly, we stopped doing tranche investing, right? So I think before starting India Quotient, 60-70% of the deals I would have done would have been a tranche investment. So each investment will be broken into 2, 3, 4 steps, and then valuation will be based on certain parameters, so on and so forth. I think in the last 9 years at India Quotient, maybe 2 or 3 deals would have been tranche based, and they would also be because of you are co-investing, or maybe the founder insisting that he wants to raise more capital than what we believe in. So on a very exceptional basis we do tranche based investments, or the valuation is not fixed and we do a convertible or those kind of stuff, right? So we don't do all of that, right? So we try to simplify the stuff, right? So our term sheets are very standard, Siddharth. So our term sheet is actually on in our website. We have put our term sheet, and we don't make a lot of changes in the website when on the term sheet. We don't make a lot of changes in the term sheet when we are investing in a new company. We tell the founder to go and read it on the website, and when he is ready to sign, then only we give the term sheet. So we have tried to simplify all those things which we wanted to do, and that's how we think ourselves as more as entrepreneurs than fund managers, right?
And you and Anand both have different personalities, right? Anand is more extrovert, storyteller. You are more introvert, as you have said in our earlier interactions. you like to deal less with people.
Yeah. Yeah, so actually that has been a very good combination for us. So Anand is very energetic. He wants to do everything very fast, right? So he loves speed in everything, right? So very spontaneous, quick in everything, right? On the other hand, I also like speed, but I also want, and I'm not that spontaneous, right? So I will take a little bit of time, right? So that ways I am. You can say that there are two tires. One tire basically gives us the speed, which is Anand, and the other tire kind of gives the stability, so that uh, we don't go this side or that side, or we don't slip, right? So that ways our combination is has been uh, working well for the last now it's almost a decade, right? So we kind of enjoy working together. So that's why we when we started, we also kind of split our responsibilities in the very early days. So we said, okay, Anand will go and do the fundraising. Of course, nobody can do fundraising fully. So Anand will be the front facing on the fundraise, and wherever required, I will chip in, right? And then the other part of the business, which is fund management business, so that I will basically take care of the management business. Of course, there will be certain things where it has to be discussed and decided over there. Anand will chip in, but most of the responsibility of the fund management will be on my side. And then the investment and portfolio management, that we will do together, right? So there we will, both of us will invest, and both of us will do portfolio management. So actually, till very late 2017, most of the deals we used to manage together, right? So even if I have invested, right, or I had scouted or I had spotted the investment, but both of us were equally involved, right? So we were like, both of us would attend the board meetings, both of us would talk with the founders on a regular basis. Almost all meetings we will do together, and so on and so forth. Of course, from 2016-17, we our number of companies have increased, and it is no longer possible for both of us to be working with all the companies together. So we have kind of now decided to manage portfolio separately, but we still have a rule of two partners getting involved with one company, right? So while one partner is the lead, the second partner is also involved and keeps a tab, so that if there is any requirement, or if there is any need of continuity, the other partner can just take it over from there, right? So that ways, I think we are definitely very different kind of people, but we have figured out a way, and we have worked it very well. In fact, it happened by itself, and we didn't have to do a lot of uh, uh, planning, etc., to make this work, but it has worked very well for us. Yeah, so it works very well for us.
So Madhukar, you don't come from a family of wealth, right? And you mentioned first 4 years of your career, right, a job career, you worked in an NGO which doesn't pay well, and then you did MBA, and then you were a part of fund. Like fund pay well, but starting up a fund requires your own money, right? India has a rule, like the government SEBI, that a fund manager needs to put 2.5% of the fund themselves. So how did you and Anand build up the first fund, right? Like was
Yeah.
it out of your savings?
Yeah, so the first fund was really tricky, right? So therefore, I frankly didn't have much money to put in the fund, right? So because as I told you, first 4 or 5 years I worked in non-profit, very little savings, and then I worked for 3 4 years in the fund side. But uh, uh, so in the first fund, most of the capital was contributed by Anand. So Anand put the capital, and I kind of my contribution was that uh, both of us didn't take any salary, right? So we were earning pretty decent salaries when we started in 2012. So both of us took a huge pay cut, and on top of that, Anand basically invested, right? So the first one was Anand himself put the commitment which is required from the fund manager side. from the second fund onwards, uh, we started putting all the money which we used to get as fees back into the fund, right? So that's what we did. So I think for the first 6 years, me and Anand, we hardly took out any capital, any money from the business for our expenses, right? So most of the first 5 6 years, it was we used our savings to run our families, right? And Anand, on top of that, in the first fund, actually put more money from his own savings also, right? So whatever he had earned earlier, so he, from his personal wealth, he had to put money, and I put whatever we earned, right? So till 2006 17, I think 2018, when we raised our fourth fund. From there on, the fund was decent size, so it was 400 crores. So the fees was sufficient to uh, start putting in the fund, as well as you have some surplus. And then from 2018, touchwood, we also started having exits on our companies, right? So we started getting. So I would say that I didn't come up from a family of either businessmen or wealth, right? So I didn't have that. One thing is very clear, that I only do what I like, right? So I can't do anything which I don't like, right? So one story I will tell you. I will not name, but when I left my NGO job from Pradhan and come to Delhi. So I was working for a short while at this NGO, and one day I was going to office. So I I took my bike and I was going towards the office, and then I realized, why am I going to this office? Because I don't like the job. So why should I basically do this? So I turned back and came to my room, and I called up the the CEO, or the my boss at that company, and I said, boss, I will not be able to come. I'm not interested. So I will just uh, I just want to quit. I'll send my resignation on mail. So I think it was 10th or 11th of the month. So he said, why don't you come and at least do your settlement? So I'll give you your 10 days salary and so on and so forth. So I said, I actually don't want to come now. So why don't you do one thing, that 10 days salary, if you can give it to a charity or something, right? So if you want to, or otherwise fine, I'll just send you my resignation. So one thing is very clear, that I don't, if I don't like anything, or if I start thinking that I don't want to do this, I will not do this, right? I will not do that thing for whatever, right? So whether how much risk it carries or how much money I am making, all of that doesn't matter. So in in 2012, when I decided to start India Quotient along with Anand, I was at a pretty comfortable place in my life, career wise, right? So in fact, my parents, they were like absolutely they were absolutely furious at me, that why am I leaving a good job, right? After So for them, when I didn't get into IIT in '96, from the time till 2006 when I got in IIM, I was like, uh, I was not doing well in my life, right? And then I went to IIM, got a good job, 4 years, doing very well, uh, earning good money, and now you again leave the job, right? And you start something new. You don't know how much you will earn, whether this will succeed or not, right? So it was very tough for them, right? And and right at that time, I also decided to marry. So when I got married, I think I resigned, and after my resignation, 2 months later, we I got engaged, and I told my to be wife that I am leaving my well-paying job to start a fund, and I asked her to give me 3 years, and in 3 years, I would be in a situation where I'll actually come back to where I am, career-wise, in terms of money-wise, right? Uh, I thought it would take 3 years. It didn't, right? So it took 6 years. So, so there were some very difficult moments, family-wise, right? So because we had a kid, and my peers, they were like doing very well in their life, and social media, so Facebook, you would see that a friend of mine will go to Dubai, and they will post photographs from there, or somebody will post a photographs from US, or Bali or somewhere, right? And my wife will say that, why are we not going? I would say I don't have money, and plus I don't have time. So both the things. But I think that period was there. So I think there was a 2 or 3 period, 2 or 3 years period where uh, there was there were doubts in the mind, not mine, but in my family, including my wife, my parents, even my friends. Right, a lot of my friends who were saying that, okay, you are doing well, right? You start this company. Most of the companies and most of my peers, right? They are in regular. So they went to IITs, IIMs, right? They work in regular companies. Somebody works in a consulting company, somebody works in McKinsey, somebody works in somewhere, right? So when they hear, or when the news hear the news that most of the tech companies are loss making and most investors don't make money and so on and so forth, they say, okay, you have spent 4 or 5 years, right? Now you have this company called Sharechat. Even in 2016, right, a lot of friends of mine would say, okay, Sharechat is there, it's valued this much, but revenue to kuch hai nahi, profit to hai nahi, so how will you make money, right? So it will eventually not work, right? So there were a lot of problems, and a lot of people used to create doubts, right, in the minds of uh, uh, people who were near me. So my parents, my wife, my friends. But I think in the last couple of years, all of that uh, has gone under the bridge. Now nobody actually has those kind of doubts. So everyone realizes that yes, it was a risk worth taking and it has paid off. So it's just like entrepreneurship. I think the same thing is also applicable for most of my founders who start the companies, right? For example, if you take the example of Sharechat guys, in 2015 when they started, all of them had freshly graduated from IIT Kanpur. They could have easily got a job of 10, 20 lakh rupees in good companies, right? But they decided not to do that and take a 50 lakh rupee check and run a company, start a company, right? So that was a big decision for them. I'm sure their parents would have been equally furious or even more furious than me, right? And then when they raise capital, they're raising $1.5 million, $5 million, but still getting salaries which is lower than what their peers are getting. The parents must be saying that you are raising so much money, but you don't get any money. What kind of business is this, right? So I think that ways it has been, the experience has been more entrepreneurial, uh, uh, which also has made us be more near to the ground and understand that what we are doing is is being, I think it's also a reflection of what we do, and similarly what our founders are doing. So that's why the connect is very high, right? So the empathy level for the entrepreneurs is very high because we went through that journey, right? So we went through that 4 or 5 year journey, and that has been very helpful.
And at India Quotient, you work very differently than the funds you and Anand both have worked in. And like most of the large funds in India, there is no consensus, right, for making the first check. First check, a partner can take a call themselves, as you have mentioned, and then the second check requires consensus. Can you share more about that?
Yeah. So Siddharth, when you are investing at very early stage, right? So in early stage, uh, there is not a lot of data based on which we can take a decision, right? So the decision is largely on knowing something which is very subjective, right? So which is very intangible, right? So for example, you meet a team of two guys, right? And you know that this guy is exceptional because of a certain thing which you can't even explain, right? So you know that this guy is exceptional and he has a very high capability with relation to the business he is proposing, right? Now to be able to explain that to two more people or three more people and get them to uh, agree that that is the case and then invest, that sometimes becomes tough, right? And if you don't do that investment, then you lose a very orthogonal kind of a opportunity, right? So therefore, as a rule, what we do at India Quotient is that when we are investing for the first time, right, uh, we largely go by the gut of the champion partner over there. So if I am basically leading a deal and I am very sure about doing the deal, right? Then my partners will identify and point me the risks which are visible at that point of time, right? And I will look at those risks, and even after looking at those risks, I might take a call that okay, I understand that these are the risks, but I will still want to go and invest because I believe that this founder is exceptional and he will figure out, right? And or the market is great, and these things will not matter in the future, right? So those kind of calls I will take, and I am allowed to do that, right? And then my partners will respect my decision on that and believe, and allow me to make that investment, right? So that's how we go when you are investing in the company for the first time. You have to understand that in our fund, especially now, the first fund we didn't have much luxury, so there was hardly any reserve capital. But from the second fund onwards, we have 30 to 50% of the capital, which is reserve capital, which we invest in the second time, third time in the same company, right? Over there, we have a very I would say involved conversation before we put money, because there it is about allocation. So one, if we are putting more money in a company uh, after our first check, it should deserve it, right? So it has to be in the top 5 7 in the portfolio at that point of time, right? So that is one. The second thing is that we should be able to get a good sense that they are actually making progress in the business also, right? So that is also very important for us, so that we understand that where this business is going. And finally, the third thing is that what is the kind of investor set or people are coming and associating with the business. So we use all these three parameters and then do a very involved discussion to decide how much money we go and put in the company, right? So we are very disciplined at the at for the allocation of the reserve capital in the company. The first check, we want to be slightly more risk taking, because that is where we have seen that most of the value lies, right? So because see, you can't invest in a company like Sharechat by getting into a consensus, right? So it's impossible, right? Because there was hardly anything there, right? So the to say that you will basically create a social media company when you have a Facebook, when you have a Twitter in the country which has millions of users, is not going. You can't defend it, right? So you have to just go and say that please trust me and let me make this investment. Similarly, sometimes the founders come and say that okay, you don't trust me, you are not getting the market, give me a small amount of money and let me try this, and then we will see, right? And in those scenarios we have given money, right? So even if you don't understand the market, or we are not able to understand the business model, but because we see that the founder is very highly motivated and very highly capable, we go by his trust and we give him a small amount of money, and we say okay, we'll give you a crore, right? And let's see in 6 months what happens, right? So we do those kind of investments once in a while, where there's not a lot of logic for doing that investment, right? But that is just coming from the gut, and it's saying that okay, this guy is meant to do something great, and we are going to put money behind that guy.
And you also have a personal bias for very large outcomes, right, Madhukar? So thereby, when you enter, uh, uh, you know that many of the stuff will not work. Right?
Yeah.
Where does that thinking come from?
Yeah, I think that thinking comes from probably what is your goal in your life, what is your objective in your life, right? So the reason, especially for me, I am interested in something which is very scalable, right? So which is very large scale, right? So Siddharth, you have to understand that from the background where I come from, right? So I was agri engineer, right? Most of my peer group colleagues are in sales, right? So they are either selling seeds or tractors, or some of them moved and became professors, right? And then when I went to IIM, after IIM, also most of my colleagues are in uh, in banking, finance, marketing, sales kind of stuff, right? So most of them are in the mainstream kind of a business, right? uh, I've taken all this risk because and I was working at Aavishkaar also. That was also great, a good salary. The fund was scaling. It was not like it was not growing, right? And for me also, career wise, it was a great thing, right? The reason for leaving Avishkar was very similar to the reason leaving Pradhan in 2005. I want things to basically make a change, right? So it should do something remarkably big, right? So the outcome has to be very high, very big, right? The chances of that success, if it is low, I am fine with that, right? So I can live with a failure. I don't have a problem with that. I want the entrepreneur to think as big as possible, right? So therefore, that is also one of the reasons I don't do a lot of software, right? So I don't do SaaS, I don't do enterprise SaaS, or I don't do B2B SaaS. It's not like I don't like those businesses or they can't make money. They can make money, but for me, those are more software businesses are more enabling businesses, right? So they don't change the market dramatically, right? So they are, I would say that they are support businesses, right? They're not mainstream businesses, right? So on consumer side, when you are investing in a commerce company, or when you are investing in a advisory company, or when you are investing in a social media content company, you are basically interacting with millions and millions of users, and you are impacting their life on a very daily basis, right? So and then you also create outcomes in terms of revenue, profitability, etc., which is huge, right? So that's where my interest lies in. So therefore I'm more biased towards investing in consumer companies. Also interested in investing in companies which which can become massive in terms of other new emerging technologies. Unfortunately, in India, it is tough to invest in certain spaces because the capital which will be needed to support those investments is not available, right? So for example, you would want to invest in a lot of companies in the in the deep tech space, right? Or you want to invest in on the medicine side, or medical devices side, or even on the pure play R&D side, right? So the capital support in the past has been pretty low, right? So one has to be cognizant of the possibilities which are there in the Indian market, and looking at those possibilities, I think we are still very early in the consumer cycle in India. So we will have a lot of companies where we can invest. So I have a personal bias towards investing in outcomes which look very stupid to begin with, right? But if they succeed, they can really become very big.
What are the companies that the 4 5 companies, Madhukar, that have considerable valuation, at least if we want to measure today, that you have backed?
See, forget about valuation. I would say that let's talk.
Impact. Let's talk about impact. For
Yeah,
example,
impact, right? So let's look at it. So Sharechat, right? So Sharechat is pretty big, right? So it has a few hundred million users, right, on a monthly basis, right? So they are pretty big. Valuation also, as wise, they are a unicorn. And then in my portfolio, you have companies like, I have a company called Local, right? So which is trying to digitize the regional newspaper, right? So the regional newspaper is a big thing for people who live in smaller cities and towns, right? So they don't read your Times of India or Economic Times, right? They read their local newspaper in their local language, which carries very hyper local and local news, right? So that's a massive opportunity, right? So uh, I think I myself I'm not able to imagine that what you can't do, right? So if once you have a certain level of penetration, and once people are trusting you and using your content on those platforms, you can actually, there is nothing which you can't do, right? So you can do a lot of stuff over there, right? So most of the content related, advertising related, transaction related, e-commerce related stuff can be enabled on that platform. And and while today the TAM for that market looks like the regional newspaper market, but I believe that the TAM of that market will explode exponentially. I'll just give you an example, right? So on the newspapers, in the regional newspapers or the local newspapers, jobs and matrimony are two segments which generate a reasonable amount of revenue for those newspapers, right? But if you think of it, jobs and matrimony in a newspaper, the quality of information which is possible in a classified newspaper is very very poor, right? So if it gets digitized, the quality of matrimony classified increases significantly, right? Because not only you can give a lot more information in terms of photographs and other content, but you can also enable interactiveness in the system, right? So therefore those markets, when start adding up, you suddenly realize that the TAM has expanded multiple times from what you realized in the beginning. Another example of a company which I've invested and I'm very very super bullish about is a company called BharatAgri, right? So 3 years back, I invested in that company. The company starts with the concept that they will go and advise the farmers to grow the crop in a particular way, right? So having spent my time in Pradhan in India, in rural India, I have seen that how farmers do farming, right? So farming is not done in a very professional way, right? So there are farmers who don't even go to their crops for weeks, right? And then weeks later they go and they realize that their crop has been destroyed because of certain reason, right? So so just bringing the rigor of a profession inside the farming activity itself increases the productivity by a few tens, 30%, 40%, 50% of the increase in productivity just happens because you go to your field every day, right? And then if you start doing following some of the package of practices which which have changed over the last 30 years, which is not even conveyed to the farmers in the rural India, right? So a lot of research technology which has happened on the agriculture side has not been conveyed and not been transferred. So so the premise was that the company will go and charge some money and advise the farmers to do the farming in a professional way, thereby increasing the productivity by 70-80% and reducing the cost of production by 20-30%, right? You would be surprised, Siddharth. 3 years back, everyone actually laughed at me, right? And they said, "Oh, farmers will pay you for advice, right? They don't pay for tangible goods which you give them, right?" And you are saying that they will pay for advice? It's not possible, right? Today, the company in 2.5 years, it has proven that not only farmers pay, but they pay again and again. So we have a like 70-80%, 60-80% renewal rates. We have like in the pandemic a lot of things have got disrupted, but thankfully it has only been better for us. We are now adding like tens of thousands of farmers who are joining our platform every month by paying anything between 7 to $50, depending on what amount of land they are bringing under the advisory, right? And the company is scaling like anything, right? The problem is, the point is that you start with such a horizontal thing. Now the TAM of this, if you look at today, you can say, okay, there are 140 million farmers in India. Out of that 140 million, probably 70-80 million are the ones who would need this advice or who do farming professionally. So you will basically advise them. And if you are charging say $10 on an average for $20 in a year, because every year you do 2 seasons, $20 is not a very large market, right? But what they don't realize, that if the platform is able to win the trust of the farmer, that he listens to the advice which we give with respect to his farming, right, we can influence the purchasing behavior of the farmer on the input side, and we can also influence the selling behavior of the farmer on his output side, right? So once we have a few 100,000 farmers on our platform whom we know on a regular basis, and the platform is known by those farmers, we will very soon become a very significant player in the both input e-commerce space as well as farm to market space, right? And that will happen without spending a lot of money, which is done for cost of acquisition, right? So these kind of horizontal places, now if somebody asks me the probability of this happening, probably very near to zero, right? So I don't think this kind of companies, the probability of success of these companies is uh, anything more than zero. Very very unlikely that this will succeed, but I'm excited at the thought of them getting successful, right? So if they get successful, then we are not looking at a a small company, but we are looking at a company which will be life changing and a massive outcome for India Quotient, right? So those kind of companies are the ones which we are very bullish about, right? And that's where where I particularly spend my time and try to invest in them. Valuation wise, yeah, I have Sharechat, we have Sugar Cosmetics, we have Local, we have BharatAgri, we have Pagar Book. We have a lot of companies which are doing pretty well in terms of valuation, and we'll see, right? We'll see that where we end up.
So the first one was, I believe, 25 CR, right? Uh,
First was 30 CRs, approximately 30 crores.
and second fund?
Second fund was 110 CR, 110 crores. Third fund was 400 crores. And we are raising a fourth fund which will be 600 to 750 crores. We'll see where we end up, right?
So I believe the second fund, especially, right, because of Sharechat, would be sitting at a very large multiple today, right?
Yeah. So Siddharth, our internal target is to multiply each of the fund at least 5 times. So a 5x a gross multiple, if I am able to do in each of my funds, I will feel satisfied, right? But I will only feel happy if I am able to do double digit multiples. I believe that we will do that in fund two. I think we would have done in fund one also, but fund one was unfortunately we were investing very early, so we will not be able to capture the full value. So if the fund we would have been able to extend for probably 3 more years, then we would have been able to get the fund to double digit multiple. So I think 5x is the basic which we look for as a gross return, and the happiness comes at double digit fund return. And Siddharth, I'm not joking, but if you look at markets like China, right, uh, every good fund manager has done more than double digit, right? So if you are entering the golden phase of Indian tech, I think having ambition of doing anything less than double digit is not fair. I think I would really feel very happy if I'm able to do at least one fund in that triple digit. Uh, right, so that's the ambition. So hopefully we'll get there. Maybe one of the funds which we are right now there, or maybe one of the future funds. We'll definitely want to see if we can do a triple digit multiple, because that will basically be the real happiness for us.
But you kept on investing in Sharechat from fund two, I think from fund three also, right? So today, India Quotient would have owned a significant part of Sharechat and being the earliest investor.
नहीं यार ऐसा Siddharth, that's not the case. Although we have invested in all the rounds, uh, our fund size is limited, right? So we have not invested a lot of capital. So I think till now we would have invested, I think 10 million, $8 million or so, right? $8 million, and we would be sitting on, I think, $150 million or so on
And
the whole.
after taking a, let's say, small partial exit.
Some after taking some exit, right? So 150 will be what we would be. I don't remember the numbers. It will be anything between 150 to 150.
But definitely, like if you can create similar outcomes like Sharechat, one outcome in each fund, then you are at double digit, and possibly two outcomes like that, then it moves towards triple digits.
Yeah, that's the objective, right? So that's the thought process. Uh, Actually, I would have. Sharechat was uh, our fund size was too small, right? So therefore, our ownership in Sharechat is too small. If you are able to repeat a Sharechat, then we will probably own much more than what we own in Sharechat today. Uh, but but yeah, so I think I think it's not about ownership, right? So it's more about the satisfaction of being able to multiply capital and build something which is very meaningful. That's what we are gunning for. Uh, uh, I think we will definitely do much better than what we are doing right now in terms of the fund too. ShareChat is definitely poised to do achieve greater things. Companies which are in the similar space like Sharechat and market leaders in other geographies uh, are not 2 3 5 billion dollar companies. They are 50 100 500 billion dollar companies. I'm hoping that my ambition and my desire of having a triple digit fund will be fulfilled by fund 2 only, but want to keep my fingers crossed, right? And yeah, and that's what we are gunning for. So we are investing very early. Our number of winners will not be very high, because you understand, Siddharth, that once I miss a deal at seed level, right, I don't have the luxury of going and investing at series A, B. So therefore, the total number of logos in my funds will be lower. But whenever I will win big, right? So in ShareChat, our first check which we had invested, that is already multiplied more than 500 times, right? So and if ShareChat goes at least 3 to 5 times from here, which I believe it will, because most of the investors who have invested in this round, they definitely believe that. So that means we will do a 2000x on the first check which we invested in ShareChat, right? And in those days my first checks were 50 lakhs. Today my first checks are $1 million or $500,000. So if I'm able to do a 2000x on a $500,000 check in any of my company in future funds, I'm sure that if we don't breach the three digit mark, we will definitely go into a very decent 2 digit multiple, right? So very confident that we'll do very well from here.
And are you thinking of returns from the fund two now, because it's completing a 10-year cycle next year? Fund one, sorry. The
Yeah, so we will figure out how to exit, right? So we are trying to, I told you, right? So we are, unfortunately, because our fund was very early stage, so most of the companies we invested in fund one were like very early, right? And then in the last 6 7 years there were two rough patches. So 13 14 was a slightly slow period, and then 16 was 15 16 16 17 was slightly slow period. So there were two lulls. Because of that, the company formation, the speed of value creation had slowed down. So therefore, we are not, some of our companies are will do very well in the next couple of years or 2 3 years, but our fund life is ending. So we are figuring out a way how we can solve for the value capture, uh, as well as comply and give exit to our investors, right? So we will figure out a way. So we will do something about that, right? So we'll, but our one way or the other, we will exit our fund in the next 18 to 24 months for the first fund.
and Madhukar, if you can share, why did India Quotient create First Check when you yourself were investing very early?
See, first check was that we are a very concentrated strategy investors, right? So we invest with hypothesis, right? So what happens is that when you are when you're taking large positions and you are investing in a very uh, with a narrow thesis, right? So there are a lot of spaces which doesn't fit in your strategy, right? So where you're not able to build a hypothesis, or you don't have a good understanding of those spaces. So we were missing all those spaces, and that uh, was, we were not even able to build our learning about those spaces, right? So in future, if you want to do that, how do you basically build your skill? So that was one reason why we said that if we have a vehicle which basically is not so much focused on ownership and strategy and doing a lot of value add, but actually just going and trying to help the founders in whatever space they are investing, right? So that was the basic premise. And the second premise was that we also wanted more and more capital to be available at the very early stage, so that more people can take risk, right? So we want that anybody who is walks out from the top 20 or 50 college in the country, there should be a 20 30 50 lakh rupees check which should be available for those guys to try out anything, right? So it any random idea which comes in the mind of a guy who is walking out of a IIT campus or a BITS campus or a IIM campus or an NIIT campus, there should be 50 lakh rupees available for that guy to say, okay, here is 50 lakh rupees. Why don't you do what you want to do for the next 12 15 months? and hire a few more people, set up a small office, and who knows what will come out of it, right? So that kind of availability of capital will happen when you have a few more first checks. I'm seeing that there are already few of them. You are also one of them, and then there are many more are coming up. So I think these were the two basic ideas. One was to increase the flow supply of capital at the very early stage, right? And the second was for us to have our eyes on a slightly broader set of companies where we can where we can go and uh, and build our understanding, right? So for example, first check today has invested in space tech, it has invested in SaaS, it has invested in enterprise SaaS, it has invested in, of course, ed tech, and whatever we do, they do that also, and on top of that, they do everything else under the sun, right? And that gives us visibility that what is happening in the ecosystem, right? And there, that allows us to get prepared for that particular space. If particular space is coming up, we get prepared for it, and we can capture that opportunity, or at least be prepared to capture that opportunity, if not in the same company of the first check, but in the space we find another company, we will be able to use that, right?
And how did you build a team for the first tech? Like identifying the right team requires a different DNA than India Quotient.
Yeah, we have been talking about first check for like I think 2016, right? So 2016, say we were talking about. I think in 2017 when Gagan joined, uh, uh, Gagan showed some more enthusiasm, and and that led to him talking to a few guys who wanted to do something like this. We were very lucky to find Kusal, and that's how it worked. So but in our minds we were like looking for the right kind of people from 2016 onwards. uh, I think we were looking for a certain skill set, right? So we wanted somebody who is uh, very smooth, right? So who would be able to work with the founders, the founder respect them, right? And who has empathy towards founders, right? And similar kind of skill sets which we have, and who wants to work with very early stage founders, right? So when we found Kusal, I think it was a very easy decision for us, and Gagan and Anand have played much more role over there. So my role was limited. So yeah, but but Kushal has been a great find for us, and he's building a very solid brand for himself and the first check in the ecosystem. Yeah.
And Madhukar, you have also mentioned, right? You have a very proprietary deal flow. It's not like hundreds of companies reach to you every year. It's selected companies which talk to you. Uh,
So
referred by.
I think this is more slightly more about the lifestyle and the way you conduct yourself. So if you look my life, right? So I started my career. So I'm actually 44 years old, but I went to IIM in 2006, right? So I have a set of friends who are 7 8 years younger to me, right? Because in IIMs most of the people go just after college, right? So most of the people who have gone to IIM in my batch had just graduated, or they had done their engineering in 2006, right? While I did my engineering in 2002, and that also after dropping 1 year, right? So I theoretically they were 5 6 years younger to me, right? 6 7 years younger to me. So that was uh, so I have been able to uh, keep myself relevant with slightly younger set of people, right? So that allows me to have a slightly uh, uh, more engagement with the founders, right? So therefore, if you look at the founders of ShareChat, or ShareChat, or for example local, etc., right? All these guys are like 27 28 years old, right? And I'm like 45 years 44 years old, right? So like 15 years younger. But when you will see them having conversation with me, you will realize that they consider me as a friend, as a elder brother, right? So not really, the age gap is slightly reduced over there. I also have a very informal way of engagement with the founders. So therefore, they don't feel uh, there is very little hesitancy and very little formality between the relationship which I have with the founders, right? So that allows me to uh, dip into their deal flow, and they and and I don't know, for some reason I've been very lucky that I have been getting very high quality deal flow from the founders of my portfolio, uh, and uh, and those deals don't go out of the market, right? Or go out to the market, so I get to see them first, right? So that is the beauty. So I don't get a lot of deal flow, right? So like, for example, if there's one founder, uh, he will not send me all the deals which comes to him, right? So because he knows me, because I interact with them very regularly, and interact uh, on a more personal level, they understand what kind of companies I'm looking for, or what I do or what I don't do. So therefore, they send very select companies which are very relevant to me, and therefore I am able to invest in them also. So therefore, then they realize that if they send, I invest also. That means they send even better opportunities next time. So that way, it's kind of a flywheel, right? So it keeps working, right? So for example, Pratik Shukla of Grab House sent Sharechat guys to me, so I invested in Sharechat. And then Nav Agrawal of Clip, he sent local to me, so I invested in local. Now ShareChat guy Ankush, he shared a deal called Clarity, which I invested 6-8 months back, right? So it's like a cycle, right? So one deal is coming from here, and that company is becoming big, and then somebody is. So the deal flow for me, the deal flow is very proprietary, and most of the deals which I do, which is like 3 to 4 deals every year, I do 4 deals. Out of that, at least 2 deals I do which come from the founders only, right? So in fact I also recommend people who come to me directly to come through a founder, because that makes my diligence much easy. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Madhukar. It was really fun interacting with you, right? Going through your journey bit by bit, understanding each element of the journey, and to know, right, how comfortable uh, you are in your skin and investing in things you enjoy and believe in.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks, Siddharth. Thanks, Siddharth, for the opportunity. And I wish all the best to your podcast. You're doing a great job.
Thank you.
And yeah, happy to help in any other ways whenever you feel like. Yeah.